While from a weird legal fluke, She-Ra's kind of not part of the Masters of the Universe brand officially on paper. I mean, sort of, kind of. Well, she does have her own giant villains gallery, and getting to that villains gallery was very important to us. Getting all of these characters into classics was kind of a weird loophole in the whole legal issues of Filmation and Universal and who owns rights to what, but it meant that we were going to take advantage of this, so getting to main characters and main villains like Scorpia that we knew fans really wanted was very important. We knew that fans were making customs of this character, as she might have looked in the 1980s if she was released in both She-Ra or the Masters of the Universe brand. Scorpia and Catra tended to be kind of the main villains of She-Ra on the show. I mean, I guess you could debate if she had a true arch enemy. Well, Catra was kind of set up in the mini-comics as, her jealous friend. That's was sort of the way the conflict was created originally. She didn't actually, battle anyone. They were just jealous of each other. But Scorpia and Catra were always seen on the show as the two main villains under Hordak, and, well, female villains, that is. We'd already gotten to Catra. We'd already gotten actually quite a few of the male characters. But as far as the female villains, Catra was checked off pretty quickly because, again, from day one, she was the archenemy. Doing a character like Octavia before Scorpia was actually very intentional, and a lot of fans were confused about this because Octavia does not have as much screen time and is not as well known as Scorpia, so some fans were like, well, wait a minute, why in the world would you do the octopus before you did the Scorpion character? I mean, she does fit in very well, all of them, with the female villains of She-Ra and of He-Man, and if they'd had characters released in the vintage line, they would have been awesome. So why do why do Octavia before doing Scorpia? Well, it was completely deliberate, because I'm a big fan of one, you've got to save some characters down the line. You want to have A-list characters, B-list characters to populate the line as years go by. And while Octavia might not have had as much screen time, well, one, I personally am much bigger on octopus characters than I am on, I guess, scorpion characters. I mean, Octavia did have her fair share of villainry and acting as, Hordak's, I don't know, is he spanking her? I don't even know what he's doing there. Well, the point being is, it was very deliberate to do Octavia first, because if we did Scorpia first, people would have wondered, are they ever going to get to Octavia? But by doing Octavia first, well, you obviously knew we were going to get to Scorpia. Plus, we already had a character with, claws for hands in the line, and we didn't have anyone else that had giant green tentacles, so it was a cool way to do something different. Yes, we all wanted our own Scorpion-based character, and Scorpia was that token character for the Masters of the Universe brand, so it was obviously a foregone conclusion that we were going to get to her in time. Fans have been making customs of her for years, and again, her being sort of the secondary main female villain under Catra kind of guaranteed her a spot. So she was deliberately held back so that we would have a very strong female villain for later release. I mean, this was when the line was planned out early on in 2008, 2009, when we were making sure that we could continue the line for years. So, yes, Scorpia, big character on the show, had lots and lots of screen time, a very distinctive look, and when the Horsemen took her under their sculpting knife, again, knocked it out of the park. I especially love what they did with her token Hordak or Horde-issued crossbow. Every character kind of got one, and she had a very kind of Scorpion-esque bow. Hey, I'm a Scorpio myself, born in November, so obviously, getting a Scorpion character was pretty cool, though I don't think we ever had a Libra character. Would He-Man and She-Ra be considered like Gemini twins? I don't know. There was no attempt to do constellation characters. What am I saying? The point being is, this was a main villain, and fans love female villains, especially adult fans. For kids, not so much. It's a little difficult. That's why there were only, Evelyn, the Sorceress, and Teela in the original line. I do think it would have been cool if we were able to give her articulated claw hands, but no character outside of Clawful, who had a giant claw hand, was able to have this. So she wound up with the usual standard smaller claws, which kind of always bugged me. I'm like, how in the world does she do anything with those? I mean, how does she, pick up a fork or wipe her butt?
Maybe we can have lobster claws.
What the fuck are lobster claws?
Hey, Vinny.
All right, so like I said, it was always a foregone conclusion that we were going to get to Scorpia, and deliberately holding her for later in the line, honestly, I'm glad we did this, because, again, if we released her earlier, there'd be a lot of question if we were going to get to characters like Octavia or, some of the other secondary villains, especially the female villains. Plus, we were able to use her to kind of pay a little homage to the voice actress who brought so much to the show, giving her the name here, Linda Dream, because, it sounds like a girly 1980s name, and it paid homage to one of the important voice actors. So, while we already had tentacles, now we had Claw. Everyone was happy, and we could move forward, all holding hands, or claws.